give us what we need. Hey!
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
All right. This is Areva Martin, Real Time, and I am your guest host, Angelique Francis of Living in the Sweet Spot. And I'm on Saturday and Sunday right here on KBLA. I'm sitting in for today for Areva Martin. It's your one-stop destination for today's trending news. Let's get at it. Well, first, regarding the war in Gaza, the death of World Central Kitchen workers have pushed the number of aid and employee killed during the war in Gaza to at least 196. The deadly Israeli strikes is also setting back attempts to address the hunger crisis in the Gaza Strip, with aid groups setting they are now being more cautious about making deliveries and having suspended at least 2 operations. World Central Kitchen itself has stopped its work in Gaza and sent 3 ships with several hundred tons of food back to port in Cyprus. Since 2017, dozens of states have enacted more than 110 laws and policies reshaping the teaching of racism, sexual orientation, and gender identity. These new rules now affect over 3/4 of the nation's students and how they learn about topics ranging from the role of slavery in American history to the lives of non-binary people. Much of the first wave of curriculum legislation from the late 2010s to 2021 focuses on how schools can teach about race, racism, and the nation's racial history. But now the target of curriculum laws have now shifted over time to include determining how and what teachers can even discuss with their students. So, the University of Texas at Austin is now laying off dozens of employees who previously worked in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles in response to the state law that has been banned. They have banned such programs, according to the Texas chapter of American Association of University Professors. People that have previously worked in DEI roles have received layoff notices as of Tuesday. That came months after the university has reassigned them from their positions to comply with the legislation that went into effect January 1. The school declined to provide specific tallies of the number of people that were affected by this. And they said it was a conservative estimate of about 60, but they have failed to confirm that. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid have identified that giving chemotherapy within 2 weeks of an expected death is a poor quality indicator, and that adversely affects the payments to the hospital. So, as a consequence, the cancer doctors have now been discouraged in offering treatment to these patients at the end of their life. And they can actually get in trouble with the hospital administrators for doing so. Some studies show that oncologists are notorious for offering end of life courses of treatment for chemo, even though the end of life is within 2 weeks. In addition, Beyonce's Blackbird cover awakens so much energy right now about this Little Rock 9 group and Melba, for instance, Melba Patillo Beard, who lives in San Francisco. When she heard Beyonce's song, Blackbird, on her new album, she was awakened and she's recalling her experience in 1957 when she and 8 other black students arrived in this white Arkansas school. She is one of the 9 folks. She's 82 years old now, living in San Francisco as a resident. Once she heard Beyonce's rendition, it brought all the memories back. This is the memories back of when she, alone with her 8 other classmates, helped to desegregate the schools 67 years ago. Right on, Beyonce. I'm so happy you made this song. Also, Davido, he is now seeking legal action because there was a fake news story on April Fool's Day claiming that he had been detained after a cocaine haul was found in his private jet. The article was published on April Fool's Day by a TV station in Kenya, falsely reporting that 3-time Grammy nominee was apprehended because his plane was carrying narcotics. Well, that's a lot. Anyway, this is Reva Martin in real time, and I'm your guest host, Angelique Francis of Living in the Sweet Spot, sitting in for Reva today. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinion. In this hour, I'm going to be joined by a wonderful, wonderful author. I'm excited to give you a little bit more about her. She's a phenomenal author. She's going to discuss her latest project called Daddy's Hour. Her name is Mildred Mills. I'm excited. Let me tell you a little bit about Daddy's House. It's a raw and poignant memoir of a daughter's journey about a difficult upbringing in rural Alabama to a fulfilling life as a wife and mother with a successful career far beyond the limitations of her upbringing. Mildred Mills describes an unimaginable highs like becoming a fashion model, a beauty pageant winner, a corporate American executive, to a devastating lows like the horror of being gang raped, as she simultaneously conveys deep love and respect for those who have hurt her. This is an interview that you don't want to miss, so check her out. I'm excited to bring her in, but first, I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm thinking about in real time. Later this month, the Supreme Court will consider this interesting case. I'm just going to share this with you. It's a very strange situation. And I was sharing this with Andy earlier, and it's kind of bizarre, but I'm going to share with you now. The Supreme Court will consider whether or not to hear this as an appeal. It's an appeal for Brenda Andrews, who was convicted of first-degree murder for conspiring with her lover to kill her husband. The issue turns on sex shaming and how a woman in the criminal justice system was treated differently than men in the justice system. Throughout the criminal trial, the prosecuting attorney focused on her sexual and intimate partnership, and as far as to hold up a pair of her panties in court during the closing argument. Now, Natalie Greenfield, one of Miss Andrews' lawyers, said that the gender stereotypes infected the trial and basically poisoned the jury's decision making. Every single day, the state was representing the gendered evidence about her appearance, about her clothing, about her sexual practices, about her skills as a mother, and how it was compromised. Well, she said that we've got someone who is at risk of being executed and not conforming to gender stereotypes. She even talked about the inflammatory evidence about Miss Andrews' sexuality and how it came into describing her clothing, her lingerie, her cleavage, and even about the book that driving a man wild in bed. So all of this was part of this new finding and this new trying to open up this case, because they're saying, had this been a man, you wouldn't be talking about his boxers, Andy. You would only be talking about the facts of the case. We wouldn't be talking about your soiled boxers. I mean, they're talking about her soiled lingerie and literally brought the panties into court on the final closing arguments. So we talked about this a little bit the first hour with Nee, and I was glad that Dr. Nee was here to discuss it. But the truth is, we're not going to have this anymore. You know, it's like, this is enough. Like, we can't have this type of gender bashing, and even in court. So you got the guy who killed the man, her lover, said that she had nothing to do with it, that she wasn't part of the murder, decision to murder him. She wasn't part of the plan. And of course, the prosecution is saying, well, it was for the insurance money, et cetera, et cetera. They're both up for the death penalty. But to bring in the woman's dirty lingerie, it just wouldn't happen if it was a man, right? And so, anyway, Areva, I believe, is going to bring this forward. We're going to talk about it later. I'm not going to talk about it much, but I just thought, really? Has it come down to this? Andy, would this have happened? I don't know. I don't think it would have. Enough is enough. You're looking perplexed over there. You're like, you have nothing to say. Well, we're going to have this author come forward. Maybe she has an opinion. I'm looking online. I don't know. Everybody's just perplexed by this. All right. We're gonna do this when we come forward. And this is KBLA. This is Areva Martin. And this is her show. But I'm standing in. I'm Angelique Francis. And I'm looking forward to this next hour. All that when we come forward.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what politics is supposed to produce.
This election year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the place for politics. Unapologetically progressive politics. And we've got two of the best and brightest to help you cut through all the noise. Weekdays at 1 p.m., it's A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nee Cortelai-Corte. And at 4 p.m., it's Areva Martin in real time. He's the university professor and distinguished member of the White House Correspondents Association. She's a best-selling author and Harvard-trained civil rights lawyer. And they are both here every day to help guide you through all the this year, because you know it's going to get deep. Get your politics on weekday afternoons at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. with A More Perfect Union, hosted by Dr. Nee Cortelai-Corte and Areva Martin in real time, only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your flag.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer WetJet works fast too. Swiffer WetJet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer WetJet and just spray, push, all clean.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you can start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career, no experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
This Easter, March 31st at 11:07 a.m., ECM will be at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. We are inviting everyone to meet us there as we will be presenting the Black Resurrection Experience. What good is Jesus' resurrection if we are still living in cultural graves? ECM will present a stage play production that will address Black dignity, Black worth, Black unity, Black ownership, Black votes, police brutality, generational wealth, mental health, Black power through Jesus' power, and most of all, your purpose in life through the murder of Jesus Christ. And we will tell this entire story with singing, dancing, acting, rapping, with a little bit of preaching from yours truly, Pastor Shep. The Black Resurrection Experience. Easter morning at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. It's totally free, so come get your freedom.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, if you're just joining me, this is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your stand-in host today. I'm Angelique Francis of Living in the Sweet Spot. I'm happy to be here, and I want you to join us right now for a phenomenal host, author, and I'm excited to have her. Her name is Mildred Mills. How are you, Mildred? She's the author of Daddy's House. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you very much, Angelique. I am well. How about yourself?
I'm great. I'm excited to be right here on KBLA with you, and so there's no better time than the present to just talk about, welcome you, but talk about this great book and your wonderful life and career. And I know that you've had quite a journey, and this is what we do here, right? We want to highlight what you do and how you've made it. My show is Living in the Sweet Spot usually, so this is kind of the journey that we talk about. We talk about trials and tribulations to triumphs, and sounds like that story's right in the sweet spot for me.
Oh, yeah. I think it probably is. It sounds like it to me also.
So why don't you let's get at it. I understand that you're from Alabama. Where do you reside today?
I live in Atlanta.
Okay.
I actually live in Atlanta. I'm not in one of those places outside of Atlanta, like Jonesboro, or, people say, oh, I'm from Atlanta, and they're from all kinds of places, miles and miles from Atlanta. But I live in Atlanta.
You live in the real Atlanta.
I do. Midtown, actually.
Okay. So why don't we just kind of start from the beginning? What was life growing? I like the title, Daddy's House, but what was it like growing up in Alabama? And just give me the beginnings. Let's talk from the beginning.
Well, it was, when you're growing up, or at least when I was growing up, I didn't know much different than what I actually saw at my home, in church, and school. But I grew up picking cotton. My parents owned a 60-acre farm, and my father was a cotton farmer. He was also a brick mason and a carpenter. But I grew up picking cotton in Alabama and started at a very young age. And I could not wait. I mean, even at that young age, I knew that was not the life God had in store for me or had planned for me. But it was bittersweet. I learned so many skills. There is not very much that I don't know how to do. I can cook, I can clean, I can work. I'm a hard worker, all those kinds of things. And so it was life. Life was lifing back in Alabama in the 1950s and 60s.
Life was lifing. No, that was true. It was a little different than it is now. I mean, I guess life is lifing now, but it certainly was different.
Oh, it was absolutely different. The interesting thing is, I think that people expect me to say that I saw the white-only signs and so forth and so on, but I lived a sheltered life. Like I said, we lived on that farm. and it was actually at the dead end of a road. And my parents shielded us from so much that was going on. We didn't have a telephone or a television until I was 16 years old. I certainly wouldn't call us backwards because we were educated. I mean, we went to school, went to church, went all those places. But my parents, I don't know if they did it purposefully or not, but they actually shielded us from some of the ugliness of, what we would now look back and say was the ugliness of a Jim Crow South, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess for that I can be thankful.
Mm-hmm. So you siblings and extended family?
Oh, yes, I have 14 siblings. I am third of 17 children. My parents had 17 children. A baby died at 8 months, and a brother drowned right out of high school, but the rest of us are still alive. Both my parents are deceased.
17 children. My goodness.
17 children. Yes.
No, well, obviously you didn't have a TV because they were not watching television. Clearly, there was no other form of entertainment. I love it. Okay. Wow, girl. What are your parents' names, first names?
My father was Abraham, and my mother was Mildred. I am named for my mother.
Okay. All right, Abraham. We weren't messing around. I love it. We were not playing. And so when you live on a farm, you guys all had jobs. Everybody had a role to play. And that was part of it, right? It was a certain level of responsibility. And would imagine all the young. So you were the third?
Yes, I was third oldest.
Oldest.
I had an older brother and an older sister, yes.
Okay. So now that's interesting because when I saw your bio and saw that, it certainly wasn't what I expected when I saw, fashion model, beauty pageant winner, all of this. Right? That was not the now all of a sudden I have something else conjured up in my head, like the Waltons. I'm almost imagining a life like the Waltons. So when did you go away to school, and tell me how did your life change and switch, and tell me what was when did things change for you?
Well, I left home at age 18, right after high school, and I went to technical school in 1969 to learn how to program computer boards. And I had never heard of a computer in my life at that point, and so neither had most of America, I imagine. But anyway, my life changed dramatically because for the first time, I slept in a bed by myself. I was independent and had to take care of myself. My father actually drove me from Wetumpka, Alabama to Columbus, Ohio for that technical school. And he paid for my tuition cash, $500. And so I had an education paid in full. I was in a dorm with other girls. And after that, I got a job and went to work, taking care of myself. My father had given me, when he dropped me off at that school, he gave me $100 and said, "This is for now." And that was in June of 1969. He said, "This is for now, and I'll send you more when the crops come in the fall." But he did not, and I was not one bit upset about that because they had given me everything that I needed to succeed as a young woman. And not only that, when I left home, there were 13 children. Well, actually, there were 12 children younger than I was, and my mother was pregnant with my last sister, her last child. So there was, come July, there were 13 children older than me. So they had many, many responsibilities still. So I didn't feel any obligation. I didn't feel that he was obligated to send me anything. And I was not ever going back to that cotton field. So I had a lot of initiative to get off my backside and make sure that I worked and took care of myself.
Okay, wonderful. And so you're away at school, and did you graduate?
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, like I said, it was a technical school, and it was 8 hours a day for 9 weeks. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that, I had a certification for key punch operator, and I was certified in, like I said, computer board programming.
Mm-hmm.
So I then got a job at Ohio State.
Okay.
And I worked there I worked at Ohio State for actually a year. And then I left Columbus and moved to Dayton, Ohio, and I went to college at that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So now what? Now, I don't want to go through every single bit of your life. We could, but I want to know, you have this book, Daddy's House, and there's some profound shift that happened. I see you went through a fashion model, beauty pageant. What possessed you to write this book? What happened in your life that made you know that you had a book inside of you that you needed to write it?
Funny you should ask that. Someone asked, was it always your life dream to write a book? I said, absolutely not. I was well into my 50s and probably close to 60 before I thought that I had anything to write about. I mean, I didn't think my life was very interesting at all. I hadn't thought about my life in those terms. I was just putting one foot in front of the other, living life and moving along. But what caused me to write this book is back in, I was 50 years old when I sued my employer for race discrimination in Houston, Texas. And, of course, who's going to win a race discrimination case in Houston, Texas? But I was not going to sit back and allow myself to be treated the way that I was treated, or the way I perceived myself to be being treated, without standing up. And so after I left that job, I decided to leave corporate America. And in the meantime, I decided to do some volunteer work. I volunteered at a women's shelter, and those women, in talking to those women, what I did at that shelter was, certainly I spoke to those women, and one of the key roles that I played was interviewing them for jobs so that they could leave the shelter and go back out into the world and take care of themselves. And so I heard some of the most horrendous stories.
Okay. So Mildred, we're going to get into that and figure out and find out more about why you told this story and what you really wanted to drive home about this when we come forward. Give me 2 seconds. We're going to hear more, all of this, when we come forward.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The King family is gathering for the anniversary of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s death. This year marks the 56th anniversary of King's assassination. The family continues their tradition of placing a wreath at the crypt where Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King are buried. The wreath-laying ceremony is one of several observances of King's death that will take place this week. Other events include a candlelight observance at historic Ebenezer Baptist Church and observances at the King Center. The Detroit Association of Black Organizations is pushing for a ban on menthol cigarettes. They cite data from the FDA that says 85% of black smokers use menthol cigarettes compared to 35% of their white counterparts. The American Lung Association says black men have the highest lung cancer death rate in the U.S. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Going to be a little bit busier getting through Hollywood on that 101 southbound because of a crash now right before Vermont that's taking away the left-hand lane. So you're stacked up right about Gower. A stall in West LA on the northbound 405 at Sunset is taking away your second lane from the left, slowing you down once you hit about Washington Boulevard. Another stall, this one's in East LA on the westbound 60 at Atlantic. It's in that center lane. And a crash in Mid-City on the 10 eastbound right before Vermont, moved out of lanes over to the shoulder. A little slow and go once you hit about Cloverfield. Now you have a brush fire reported through Glendora. So eastbound 210 right after Lone Hill, you may see some smoke in that area. And a rolled up mattress in Simi, 118 eastbound right as you get over to Erringer. That's reported in the second lane from the left.
Why are people saying "Hew yeah" to Jackson Hewitt? When you switch to Jackson Hewitt, they will beat what you paid last year on tax prep, even if you filed online. Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers will not have Kawhi Leonard for tonight's game against the Denver Nuggets at Crypto.com. Leonard is still dealing with soreness in his right knee. It's the same knee that required ACL surgery history in 2021. Dawn Staley of South Carolina was named AP Women's College Basketball Coach of the Year. South Carolina is 36-0 after losing their entire starting lineup from last year. Staley has led South Carolina to 4 straight Final Fours. South Carolina plays North Carolina State Friday night in Cleveland. UConn and Iowa meet up in the second game. One of our HBCUs is in trouble. St. Augustine University, located in Raleigh, North Carolina, suspended its football program for the 2024 season. Interim President Dr. Marcus Burgess said the school needs between $27 and $30 million to stay open after the spring semester. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, yo, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Environmental justice is racial justice.
Environmental justice is social justice.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertari Plessy. Nefertari felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains.
All right, if you're just joining me, this is Areva Martin in real time, and I am your guest host, Angelique Francis from Living in the Sweet Spot. Shout out to Areva Martin. Thank you so much for allowing me to sit in for you today. I appreciate you as always and all the work that you do. I have a wonderful guest today. It's the author of Daddy's House, Mildred Mills. Mildred is sort of sharing why she wrote Daddy's House, which is a raw and poignant memoir of a daughter's journey from a difficult upbringing in rural Alabama. She lived on a farm and she had 16 siblings. Is that right, Mildred?
Well, I had, yes, 16 siblings,
16
correct.
siblings, but she moved from home. She went to school in Ohio, eventually started working at Ohio State, and she wanted a different kind of life for herself. I do know from reading your story a little bit, it's that you also encountered some very difficult things in your life. I saw that you had some domestic violence in your home, in your household. And tell us a little bit about that, because I was really wondering, what was it about you and your upbringing that made you decide you needed to write this story?
Well, I did grow up there was domestic violence in the home, but there was also so much love and so much caring. So there was this, it was almost like a contradiction there. You know, both my parents were, there was a huge contradiction there. But also, I wrote the book because of sexual assault or, just being kidnapped or whatever. But, and I wrote the book to heal and just to also let people, not just women, let people, women, young men, children, whomever, know that just because something horrible happens to you doesn't mean you have to allow that thing to define you. In fact, right in the beginning, at the front of my book, I have a quote from Maya Angelou that says, "I may be changed by what is that quote? I have a quote right in the front of my book from Maya Angelou, and that quote says, "I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it." And that's why I wrote this book, so that people can understand that you can get through the hard things, and none of us can control everything that happens in our life. We just want to be able to overcome it, do whatever it takes to overcome that. And some people do it probably better than others and different than others, but there are ways to just overcome.
Absolutely. So you, first of all, are amazing because to be able to share the story so that you can help others and show that through the trial and through the tribulation, you can still find a reason to move forward. A reason to still live through it. You said that you were kidnapped.
Yes, I was kidnapped and sexually assaulted, but that is something that I lived through, and yes.
At what age were you kidnapped and sexually assaulted?
19. I was 19 years old.
So you grew up in a very sheltered, loving environment. And then with lots of siblings. And you said, early on that you realized you were very sheltered and protected. And so you went out into the world. No one is prepared for that. But to really come from a loving environment, what were you, this is something I actually just worked with someone who was kidnapped, and one way that her life turned out to be totally different. She was kidnapped, she was raped at 16, and she eventually lived on the street as a prostitute for 20 some years. And now she's a chaplain and she helps other young women to get on the other side and to find self-esteem and to really, find a different kind of life. Now, I don't know what happened as a result of your trauma, but you are finding a way to tell your story in your book, and you know that is another way to empower others. Tell me how your journey has taken root and how it affected your life.
Well, at the time, I was quite traumatized, but there's this saying, there's either fight or flight. So I took flight. I left my new job. I left. I had actually began a singing career there in Columbus, and I picked up and left everything and moved to a different city so that I could start over. And I went to college so that I could feel. I thought that I did feel safe there because I was living with an older roommate. That lady was like almost 30 years old. I'm 19.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she was, there was a lot going on in that house that I didn't expect and had never participated in, like drugs and all other kinds of things. But I just suddenly, I realized that that's not the life I wanted. So I, after the assault happened, I actually picked up and moved away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you moved out of state. And so at one point in time, you were a singer, and did you then, I see fashion model, I see beauty pageant winner, I see all these other successful things in your life. Were you able to, you run away, and did you get counseling? Did you get therapy? What happened?
Oh, no. I lost the memory. I absolutely lost that memory, and it was buried for more than 30 years. So, no, I didn't get any counseling, and in fact, think about this: who in 1970 was going to believe? I mean, back then it was the time of free love. I was wearing a mini skirt. I'm wearing these platform shoes. I was dressed like anybody else was during those times. So, I guess there's the mind just protects. I prayed and asked God to help me forget that because I didn't want to remember it. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anybody because before the evening was over, I had the sense to call a friend that I had met in Dayton, Ohio. I didn't leave the state. I left the city, but I had met a person at a beauty pageant who offered to bring me to. She said, "Why don't you come to Dayton and go to college with me?" I said, "Don't want to go to college. I just finished tech school and I'm sending money home to help my parents." And that was the life that I had at that point, and I was okay with that because I was modeling on the side, and I had won the pageant, and I won Miss Talent for singing. I won a national singing contest. So I had my 2 little side jobs, and I was very happy doing what I was doing. But then I was afraid, very, very afraid. So I left that city. I just picked up and left.
Very brave. And you know what happens so many times when people are traumatized, we just bury that trauma, and we know that it kind of raises its head at some point in our life. So
it does.
Yeah, we think we could kind of pack it away, right? But at some point it does kind of manifest. Well, when we come forward, we're going to talk a little bit about how healing this book was for you and how it's affected others and how it's been a saving grace for others, right, that have read it, and just what you've been able to do to impact others in your life. When we come forward, all of this in the sweet spot.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to
Scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, if you're just joining me, I have the author of Daddy's House, Mildred Mills, is here. So, Mildred, we were just talking about, this trauma response to sort of hide it and push it down, and eventually it kind of rises its head, right? And the beauty of what you've done is to be brave enough and courageous enough to, and honest enough, right, and authentic enough to put it down in a memoir and to share it with whoever is supposed to read it and get something from it and to help heal from it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How was that process for you?
The process was, it was one of the most healing things I've ever done. And I say, not just jokingly, but I say that it was the most therapeutic thing that I've ever done, and I didn't even have to pay a psychiatrist to do so. Because as I was writing this book, I started writing just writing my story, and it was during that writing that the darkness of that night came back to me, and it just came rushing back, and it just made the story even more richer and more powerful, because that is something that I had forgotten for more than 30 years. But that journey it's just been amazing. It was just amazing to be able to sit down and write that story. And one of the biggest, a huge part of that story was having an opportunity to interview my mother for more than 4 hours and just talk to her about her life. And I wanted to know everything about her from the time she could remember. And we talked for 4 hours, and there were so many similarities in, just woman to woman, just sitting there having that conversation. It would probably be not much different than sitting and having a conversation with you. We find that we have more similarities than differences, and we heal each other by telling our stories and by, telling the hard truths.
Wow, that's wonderful. How beautiful was that? Because, I think when we, especially if you're coming out of, I was raised in a house with domestic violence. And so sometimes you grow up and you don't understand why someone didn't leave, or why your mother allowed certain things, or why your father was angry, or why, why
Yes,
there's been
all of
generations
that.
of that, right? Especially coming out of the South.
Hmm.
My dad and mom were from Georgia, the deep South as well. And so you want to understand why he was so angry. But if you start looking at generational trauma, you understand why he was angry and why his father was angry, why his father was angry, okay? They had a lot to be angry
Right.
about, okay?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
what were those things that they did to try to soothe the inner beast right inside of them. And I love that you were able to sit down with your mother and talk, be woman to woman. And
Absolutely.
just
She wasn't mom.
right.
Yes, she
And
wasn't my mother on that day. Well, she was my mother on that day, but we were also just two women having a conversation about life, and we compared marriages and having our families and so forth and so on. It was just pretty amazing. It was so amazing to me, and I still have her voice. She's no longer with us, but I still have her voice on tape, and I can go listen to it anytime I like.
I love that. And imagine how important that would be for black men and men of color to be able to
Hmm.
sit down with their fathers and really
Yes.
have a man to man conversation that would be full of healing and understanding.
Yes.
It just doesn't
Well,
happen. Just imagine,
I
though.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be something. In fact, I am sad that I didn't have the same kind of It would have been a different kind of conversation because my father, I don't think, was quite as forthcoming as my mother, and he would not admit to some things that he wouldn't admit to some truths, which that's his prerogative to do so. But still, there are things that I would have loved to have talked to him about. And I actually have a podcast, and last June, it's called My Cotton Patch Moments, and it is just about those things. Just because you're born into a situation doesn't mean you have to stay there. But anyway, last June for Father's Day, I did a podcast entitled "Things My Father Taught Me," and there are so many amazing things that I learned from my father. And I say I won't judge him by his worst moment. So I would have liked to have had that conversation with my father, and I think it would have been just talking to your parents and trying to understand, who they are and where they are and why they behaved the way they did, and getting some honesty out of them would just be so helpful.
That's wonderful. I mean, you, Mildred, are an amazing woman because I even saw something that described your book, and it said that you simultaneously convey deep love and respect for those who have hurt you. And I saw
Oh,
that
yeah.
quote. I saw that quote, and I don't know if that's on the back of your book because I don't have your physical copy of your book. But I think that mindset is beautiful and wonderful because we are all only human, right? And we all fall
Yes.
short, and we've all made some mistakes, and we all will continue to make some mistakes. But the beauty of understanding that we got a lot to learn. We're all on this journey trying to figure it out, right?
Right.
And this idea that you've written this book, and that even though when I said to you, I could see it was triggering, even when I said to you, you come from a family of domestic violence, but you said, yeah, but it was a home that also had a lot of love.
It did. And like I said, there are contradictions,
Yeah.
and absolutely there was domestic violence. I won't deny that, and I also won't deny that there was tremendous love. I know that there were many fathers who left their families, and some mothers left their families. And but anyway, did you have a question? Were
You
gonna
said, what's the question? No, it was actually
Yeah.
just it was just a comment and an observation. My question
Mhm.
really right now is, I'm going to ask how people can find this book, and because I do believe that when people are authentic, that there really is healing, and there's some real secret in that sauce, and that people should really read it and help get healed in that space, and there's healing in that space, right? But is there
Yes.
one thing that you learned from that process? And then I want to quickly ask everyone and tell everyone how to find the book. Is there one thing that you learned about yourself in this process?
Yes, the thing I learned about myself is that I am damn okay. I am just okay. I've had a life of ups and downs and twists and turns, but at the end of it all, I am still just, I think I am okay.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Wow. And so I suggest that anybody who wants to figure out, how to touch base and how to reconnect, especially with some of the things that we've been through and have a new perspective, I think you should get this book. And thank you so much for coming on. This is Daddy's House. It's written by Mildred Mills. How does someone get this book, Mildred?
It is available on Amazon, and it is also available. It is available on Amazon in hard copy, paperback, and I did my own audio, by the way.
Oh,
and
great.
it is available. It is available in Kindle, and it's also available at Barnes and Noble. And you can go to my website, mildredjmills.com, and you can find out how to get the book there.
Okay, and quickly, also you have a big book signing coming up in
Houston. I have a big book signing coming up in Houston on the 13th of this month. In fact, next Saturday, and it's at the Deluxe Theater. And two of my friends were gracious enough to gift me that, and it's from 11 to 2. We'll have mimosas and hors d'oeuvres, and there will be books for sale and signing.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for being right here at KBLA on Areva Martin in real time. It was a pleasure to have you as my guest. I want to thank Dr. Nee for being here on the first hour. Always, I appreciate Areva Martin for letting me stand in for you. You're amazing. Keep doing what you do. I'm Angelique Francis. This is Living in the Sweet Spot. This is KBLA Talk 1580. I'm always happy to be with my family here at KBLA. This is Areva Martin, real time. Check me out, Living in the Sweet Spot, Saturday, 3 o'clock, Sunday at 4 o'clock. Don't miss it. There's miracles in the sweet spot.
I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet.